Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is cut your two cardboard rectangles. These measure 15 by 8 inches, and I just use my ruler as a guide and cut with a pair of scissors. So just do that really quick. I've obviously done it ahead of time for, time reasons. This is actually a modification because originally I wanted to have a frame for the snowshoe that was tailored to the person's foot shape, but then I realized that without very specific instruction, it would be difficult to get all the curves and edges right without it being way too difficult for the intended user. So I decided upon this simple rectangle frame. Alright, so step 2, we're going to be cutting the cardboard frame for the snowshoe. And so you're basically just going to start off with this, an X-Acto knife or utility blade, and a healing mat. So something rubber that can protect your surface and yourself. So we're just going to cut a border in around the edge that measures 1 inch right here. So I've already cut this one out, and since I've already measured it and I don't want to, I'm just using this one for reference. But if you want to go ahead and measure it, then you can. Alright, so now we have the third step, and that is to cut this basketball net in half so that it lays flat as one piece. This is actually a modification in itself, not the cutting but the use of the net, because originally I thought I would just have the frames and a system of strings to suspend the footrest, but then I realized that would be pretty time consuming and difficult for most people to do. Also with this, there's more strength in the string, and if you were just to do string or yarn, you'd be more likely to snap, and of course basketball nets are weather resistant, so I thought that was a good alternative and saves time. So we're not going to cut this in 2 halves, we're just going to cut it so that it has like one side, cut. So just use your scissors and cut through the side. Doesn't matter if it frays, we're not looking for, neatness, and if something comes out of the frame after we glue it together, you can just trim that off, so it's fine. Alright, so we just cut through that, and see, I didn't cut this into 2 pieces. It's all still one long piece. It's just snipped, so that I can stretch it out like so. Alright, so this is step number 4. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the regular tennis shoe, and this makes it so that we don't have to attach a whole other shoe onto the snowshoe. We can just hook in the, tennis shoe of the user when they want to use the device. So I'm just going to lay this flat on the cardboard. It doesn't have to be a specific size, it just needs to fit the basic shape of the shoe. And then I'm going to take a Sharpie marker, and you're going to want to do 2 of these on separate pieces. So you'll have 2. So I'm just going to trace this onto the next one, and I'll see you in the next clip. Alright, so this is the next step. We're just cutting out our outline of the shoe, so we can get something like this. So I'm just going to take my scissors and cut around. Alright, so this is step number 6, and it's to glue the basketball net we cut previously in between these two cardboard frames. So I have it as one piece now. And we're going to be using a hot glue gun for this, but I can't exactly show you on this surface. And it's a little tricky to do in front of the camera. So I'm going to do it and come back and just demonstrate how to do it. So it's okay if you have more than you need. Just lay it flat so that it seems pretty taut over the surface of the cardboard. And then you're just going to want to put glue underneath, the strands, just much. And then you're going to take this frame, put glue where needed, and place over top. Alright, so I've gone and glued the bases around the basketball net. It's pretty taut for the most part, and as you can see, I trimmed this off. So the next step that we are going to do is more gluing, so I'm going to have to stop filming and bring it back once I'm done. But what we're going to do is we have our two foot shapes, and we're going to sandwich the net further in between the two foot shapes, just in the center of the netting. And also what we want to do, we want to have these two rubber bands to keep your shoe, the actual tennis shoe, in place. So just on one shoe we're going to have two rubber bands. I put mine on the front and the very back to make contact with the very edge of the shoe where you can pull it off. So you're just going to want to put them where you think your shoe will lift away from the cardboard. So I just put them there, and that way when you glue it, these will stay in place, but you can lift them to put your shoe in. So I'm just going to go glue that, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, so I've glued my piece together. The rubber bands are secure, and the bottom is not going anywhere. So now we're on to step 8, and that is to seal the cardboard surface. I'm using decoupage or Mod Podge. This one's specifically for paper, and it does protect it from water if you make sure to put on enough. So I'm just protecting my surface. This isn't necessary if you're just going to cover the entire cardboard surface with your paintbrush. This may take a while, depending on how thick or thin you apply the layers. This is a modification because I realized that I wanted to have the benefits of having the cardboard with it being so light and easy to find, but I knew that it would soak up a lot of water, and that kind of defeats the purpose of having the device in the first place. Alright, so this is the very last step. I've painted the sealant over all of this, and now I'm just going to let it dry for about half an hour, and it should be ready. Alright, so it's been half an hour, and for the most part it's dry. There's still little blobs that haven't dried yet, but that was just a mistaken application. However, it did pick up some of the newspaper when I flipped it over. But now you can see it's kind of shiny in the light, which is good. That's how you know you did it right. But when you want to use it, you just simply lift the rubber bands and stretch it over the shoe, and you can use it. So yeah, that's the finished product.